Well, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Founder's Journey. It's brought to you by the Tech Founder Circle. And I'm excited about my next guest. He is the founder of Jobhive. That's his part-time thing is he still works at Pluralsight. So wanted to introduce Ben Macey to you. And Ben, so excited to have you on the show. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, for sure, Michael. Happy to be here.
And so let's just get right into it, Ben. Tell me what got you started. I know this is kind of a side gig as you're building it. So tell me more. What got you to do this to begin with?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it was two things that kind of drove me to do it. Number one, I love building things, and so being an entrepreneur was always very enticing to me. And number two is when I graduated from college, I hadn't heard of product management, which is what I'm doing now. And when I found out about it after college, that's what I wanted to do. And so I realized that it's super competitive and I needed some experience. And the only way for me to get experience was to kind of just do it on my own. So that's how it came to be.
Okay. So tell us a little bit more about what Jobhive, exactly what it is.
Yeah, so Jobhive is a marketplace. It's a web application that connects recruiters and employers. So we're trying to think about like the Fiverr for recruiting. So a hiring manager can post a job and then recruiters from anywhere in the world can submit candidates to that job. And the recruiter actually picks what their fee will be. So if you're a hiring manager, your reach is expanded. And you also will see candidates from all different ranges of fees.
Wow. So instead of going to the actual applicants, you're going to the recruiters, basically.
Okay. Yeah. Just to save the hiring manager's time so they don't have to vet the candidate. So every single candidate is interested in the job. We have their salary range. We know that they're okay to work in the location or remote or whatever. So it saves a lot of time for specifically tech founders is who we work with the most.
Okay. So, and you have a little background in recruiting. I assume that's why you went this way, right?
Yeah, it was kind of one of those things where you get some industry knowledge and then you think, hey, I think this could be improved here. And that's where the idea came from. Yeah.
Okay. And how long have you been doing this for now?
5 years. I wouldn't say so. Technically, I've been trying to do it for 5 years, but when I started, I knew absolutely nothing about being a founder and technology. So I launched it 2 years ago. I've been trying to do it for 5 years. So yeah, that's a good question.
So tell me, setbacks, successes. Let's get into that kind of stuff. What was the? 5 years is a long time, but it took you 3 years to even start off. So there had to be some setbacks during that time frame, I'm guessing.
So many setbacks. I would say the biggest setback was trying to find software engineers that believed in my idea over their own idea, because software engineers have lots of ideas and they can build their ideas. So convincing someone that your idea is better than the idea that they have is extremely difficult. They only have so much time, right? And so those were a lot of setbacks. It took me a long time to find the right people. And
get people on the bus, basically, is what you're saying. It's some time to. And did you find people who thought they were, then they weren't, or was that
totally? Yeah, I found people because I knew nothing about technology. I found people that didn't build it correctly, or were charging me money and didn't actually end up building anything. So yeah, there's my ignorance cost me.
Yeah. So were there times where you're like, man, this isn't worth it? Were you ready to give up?
Oh yes. Once a month.
And what kept you pushing through it? What made you say, hey, I'm gonna get back up and dust myself off?
And the little wins. I think there were times where I was frustrated and I stopped for a few weeks because I was like, I can't do this anymore. And then you get excited again, and then a win comes along and you're like, okay, cool, that I got a little win. Let's keep pushing. And that's kind of how I have made it to where we are right now, which is leaps and bounds. I mean, if I look at myself 5 years ago and now, it's just totally different in terms of what I understand, right?
Yeah. So what was the biggest success in the process then at this point then?
Let's see. That's a good question. So I can think of a few things that validated us to help us move forward. Um, Y Combinator wanted us, and we were finalists in Y Combinator, which was cool.
Yeah.
We ended up not doing it. And then a local venture capital firm here in Salt Lake City called Kickstart. We went to pitch to them to have their portfolio companies use Jobhive. And halfway through the pitch, they stopped us and said, "This is a no-brainer for us. Like, what do you want us to do?"
Wow.
And so we were like, amazing. And so you get those little successes along the way, and it just kind of validates. It validates the idea, but as I'm sure every founder on this listening to this will know that ideas are a dime a dozen. They're basically meaningless, right? Everyone has a million ideas, and so it's all about like continuing on the execution, refining it, all that kind of stuff.
Okay. Well, but it sounds like that was it's been an interesting journey with ups and downs, like everything. And this is great. So,
yeah.
Pitfalls. I mean, if you're going to tell somebody who's you 5 years ago about to start, what would you tell? What was the biggest pitfall that you would?
Don't try to build something immediately. Don't spend money to build something. I think me 5 years ago thought if I can just like have someone build this, then people will use it. It's like, no, that's absolutely not true. So I would say if you're starting and you know nothing, but you have an idea of something in your industry, sell it first with nothing, right? Go to the person and say, "This is what I'm going to do. Do you want to use this?" And if everyone says no, don't waste your time trying to build it, right?
Yeah. Did your ideas change? What you have today, is it much different than you had 5 years ago?
Yeah, very different.
Okay,
the name's different. The idea is different. There are things that I didn't know that now I know about the recruiting industry, even though I've been in the recruiting industry forever. So yeah, totally different.
So have it validated basically before you
yeah. That's something that's been helpful as a product manager is, validation and research and ideation is a huge part of what I do for my day job.
Yeah.
So translating that into like, we're not going to build anything unless we know someone wants it.
Yeah, there's a customer base word potentially.
Yeah, exactly.
That's probably a big one to learn. Huh?
Yeah.
Was this hard on the family situation? Was it or did it not really have effect there? Or?
So I do have 2 little kids, and they came after Jobhive, both of them, which is interesting to think about now. But my wife actually is an entrepreneur as well. So what we would do is I would work during the day, we would put the kids to bed, and then together we would work on our different projects.
Okay.
So
I mean,
it was awesome.
Yeah, that's probably an unusual situation. I think most people that's they're trying to convince their non-entrepreneur spouse that this is the right thing to do.
yeah. I was like, she's like, yeah, let's work on our businesses. That's amazing. So it was like quality time and business time at the same time.
Wow, it's like a little built-in mastermind going in there between the 2 of you. Huh?
Yeah,
that's awesome. So last thing, I always like to find out, was there a book that made a difference that you would recommend, and why?
So I've read Rework, which is great. I've read Inspired. So I'm reading a lot of product and entrepreneurial founder books. But I think I would say what stuck with me the most is a very short book called As a Man Thinketh.
James Allen.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like, I think the line that sticks out to me the most in that is your thoughts will, and I'm butchering it, but it's along the lines of your thoughts will turn into your circumstances just as sure as your shadow follows you around.
Wow.
So for someone who knew nothing about technology 5 years ago, right? That was important for me to continue to like, okay, I can do this. Just believe in yourself, right? And then as you start to gain more experience, I think it's important to read the reworks and the Inspired and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But for me, it started with a belief that I can learn this, I can do this, just keep going. And so that's probably why As a Man Thinketh has stuck with me so long.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. That was a game changing book for me. It changed my life. It was at a low point, you know, read it, and it literally turned my whole life around. So I can certainly appreciate that.
Oh, cool.
If I had to choose between my college education and that book, I'd choose that book.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So
You talked about reading it in a low point. Another thing that I love about it, I've read that in high points and low points, but it says as soon as you change direction in your life, you know, whatever it is, whether you're you know, addicted to something or you're struggling with whatever, James Allen says, as soon as you change, you're changed. Like you're good. Like keep going in the right direction. Don't like beat yourself up for years about something that you missed out on or something like that. But like as soon as you decide to do something, you're going in that direction, which is so cool.
Love it, love it. Well, I tell you, this has been a great, Ben, and I really appreciate you. You know, I know we talked before. Hey, I'm only part time, but you are exactly what we all entrepreneurs are at least one point in their lives, right? It's the trying to get it going, and you've had some successes, and that's great. And so, we wish you the absolute very best as you continue down that road. And thank you so much for being part of the Founders Journey.
Thanks, Michael. I appreciate your time.